Preparing live stream. We are live. So Frank, take it away.
Oh, hey everybody.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
always a professional kickoff for this right here on JLJ Media. Welcome everybody to the latest edition of the Ahsoka Aftershow, brought to you as always by the benevolent founder of JLJ Media, James Lott Jr. I am one of yours, but probably if you're power ranking us, the least favorite host of the show. I am joined by the resident hunk, John Dunphy.
Come on.
And the man who without this would not be possible, James Lott Jr.
That part's true. So yes, thank you. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I just want to say really quickly, thank you to everybody who is listening to us now. If they don't want to see our tired faces, that's fine, I understand. Go to all streaming platforms that have audio and look up Ahsoka Aftershow, and you find. But you guys are finding us, so thank you. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, but just a little heads up for everybody though. You do want to take the time to put your peepers on John Dunphy's face. So it's worth it. Your eyes will thank you.
You're too kind. You're too kind.
Folks, we're going to be breaking out episodes 5 and 6. Episode 5, A Shadow Warrior, and 6, Far, Far Away. Before we get into all the nitty-gritty details, the chat is up and running, so feel free to hop in, share your thoughts about these episodes, Ahsoka in general, questions about John's beauty regimen. Those are all fair game here. And the super chat's enabled, so if you want to feel like you want to throw in a little goodness here towards JLJ Media, it is always appreciated. And before we kick into all our thoughts and opinions, John Dunphy, overall, what did you think of this two-part episode that we're talking about?
I didn't like it.
All right.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because I loved it. I loved it so much. I love this show so freaking much. I feel like the last 2 weeks, I feel like I've been losing my mind between the whole Anakin and Ahsoka, saga in the World Between Worlds, and seeing live action Clone Wars. Mm-hmm. Big shout out to Ariana Greenblatt, who played young Gamora, right, in Marvel, playing young Ahsoka here. She was fantastic. That whole episode gave me chills. And then episode 6 was just mind-blowing. I love those howlers. I want one. And I love right. And I loved the Teenage Mutant Ninja crab turtles that we saw also. Those were awesome. I loved it. Episode 5 and 6, absolutely love these. I can't get enough. I can't believe we only have 2 more episodes.
James, is it possible that you loved it more than John?
I think so. Because everyone knows. Episode 5 was my favorite episode of the season. I had a tear in my eye at the end, which we'll go talk about it. The whole duality of Anakin Darth is just like it's legend. It's everything. It's everything. They gave us everything. And also 6, we see Thrawn. We see how we don't see him. He don't give a F about anybody. He don't care. He don't care about people. He's like, and if Baylor and they go, goodbye to them too. He's like, he don't care. I want a howler also. I like the Purge girl that came through again. But just both episodes, the references to everything that's in the canon, so to speak. Mandalore and this and Kanan and it's all this stuff. Or Senator Organa. There's all these references in the dialogue to everything. It's like I'm shocked. This is what the 5th series of Star Wars they've done, and I am very impressed. They all have flaws. We all have flaws, but I'm impressed actually how much I'm really enjoying the series.
Yeah,
Frank, what do you think? Frank,
it's time for me to rain on this parade.
There you go. We're
ready. It is like all. And I don't want to feel like this. Like Andor, boy, there was just something about that series that just every episode I was just really just resonating with. And it seems that otherwise, after like Mandalorian season 2, like all the other series, they're like, it's fine. It's fine. It's Star Wars. It's fine. But nothing has just really set my house on fire as Andor has. And so I was excited for 5. Definitely was. Who wouldn't want to, to see Hayden Christensen back as Anakin, to see him in live action with Ahsoka? And I was really bummed about how let down I was by that episode.
Ooh, spicy.
I'm excited.
Spicy take.
I'm excited.
Yes.
Okay. I'm excited.
And I think 6. Again, it's one of those, like, depending on how invested you are in the Rebels crew, which me, since I have not taken that journey yet, it's just like, okay. So, through the course of that episode, the characters' investments and wanting things to happen, I think means more to the viewer the more you are dialed into those relationships from Rebels. For me, I was just like, okay. It felt very much like how many of these Star Wars shows are, where we name it after a character, and yet we can see that character disappear for episodes at a time, or at least large chunks of an episode, to focus on all these other characters. And you're like, well, hey, I was hoping to see, the person I was excited to whose name's in the title, but
yeah. No, it's totally fair. And I was going to ask you that. Was like, how much do you think your enjoyment is stifled by the fact that maybe you didn't see Rebels? Because like Rebels is a show that I love so much. And like, I feel a very like emotional attachment to these characters. So like, it definitely crossed my mind watching episode 6 of like, we really only saw Ahsoka for a couple of minutes in the beginning, but me personally, I don't mind because I'm so invested in Thrawn and Sabine and Ezra, and like we were getting all of them. We were getting the Night Sisters, like I'm so like invested in these other characters. So I feel like I can totally understand where you might feel like there's like a disconnect for you because you didn't see the entirety of the Rebel series. So like I totally understand that.
And I mean, certainly I could go back and watch these episodes after I finished watching Rebels, and my enjoyment of them could rise, because it's like currently right now, like you were saying, James, I don't have the attachment. I can relate to just the basic premise of reuniting with a long lost friend. So like that general emotional connection, yes, but I can't really resonate with the fuller, deeper connection from Rebels because I haven't really experienced that yet. So I can't bring that into that relationship, which I assume would only take that, for fans like yourself, would take that moment and just like shoot it through the roof. Like, yes, this is so awesome. What a great payoff after seeing the Rebels ended.
Because you haven't seen, I'm sorry, James.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, because you haven't seen Thrawn even in the Rebel series yet, right? Like I know you kind of started it, but like, and like I know that you know about Thrawn and like you're, knowledgeable on the books and stuff like that. But like, I like that moment when we first see Thrawn and you just hear Lars Mikkelsen's voice, I chills, and that is strictly because of the fact that I watched Rebels. I would have no attachment to Thrawn whatsoever if I hadn't watched it. So like, I completely understand where you're coming from.
I love that. I love the entrance. Okay. Yeah. Well, what you're talking about, Frank, is what our complaints were for Boba Fett and things like that, where all of a sudden, I tell you, still the nod of that episode. And that was his line. Still gets me, that Emmy-winning nod. No, I guess because I didn't watch parts of Clone Wars, but I did watch Rebels and I watched Bad Batch. So I have kind of like ideas. So I agree with that. And of course, Thrawn I read, of course, in the books, but also saw him in Rebels. So I guess for me, I guess it would be hard for folks. I guess if you wouldn't have that attachment, you're just watching the show for a show's sake. I guess that kind of makes sense on some level. But again, I'm like with John, I'm invested in the whole story. So I was like, ooh, I liked episode 5 was Ahsoka heavy. That was her story. I guess I didn't realize either. Yeah, 6. I guess we didn't see her that much. Like I'm like, but we know she's coming, and we know that she's. I guess I was so excited. I guess it didn't bother me.
Yeah,
which I mean is great. I mean, I feel like, I don't want to say like there should be a barrier of entry for the show.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, ultimately this should be made for just people who enjoy Star Wars. There's no gatekeeping or anything like that.
Yeah.
Everybody can enjoy it at whatever level they want to. I just feel like, I think that this series is definitely enriched by your having viewed Rebels.
I agree with that. I think that's what I'm saying. I think someone said at the beginning of the series, they're like, this is basically Rebels season 6.
Yeah, because I haven't watched Clone Wars, I'm dialed into Ahsoka, and so I enjoy that character, even though I haven't seen all the development that she had in Rebels. So I mean, I'm still am a big enough fan of hers that like even having that little chunk of her story not available to me or not having watched it yet, I'm still down to see where this character is now. But it's also, you know, to a lesser extent, my enthusiasm for the Rebels characters. It's like, oh hey, and right now it's kind of like at like a 3 because it's like, oh yeah, I know who those characters are, but I don't have those multiple seasons of really sinking into those characters and those relationships to be like, oh, this is so cool seeing them in live action.
Makes sense. That makes sense. Totally makes sense.
All right, well, guys, that's going to do it for GLJ
Okay,
Media
we'll see you
here.
guys next time. That's it, kids. Let's talk about Big Brother. Okay, no, it's a Big Brother.
Surprise! It's a Big Brother after show.
Surprise! Starring Strat Chat's John Dunphy. Take it away, John. We're gonna switch it up. I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Frank. Yes.
So the big thing for Shadow Warrior is, I mean, we can't really get past it there. It is the return of Anakin Skywalker and that reunion of Ahsoka and Anakin. That's played in the kind of the world between worlds, while in the real world, it's all about Hera and Carson and Hera's son trying to figure out where Ahsoka is and where Sabine went off to. Answers that they know that if they can at least find Ahsoka, they can probably find answers for both. But that's, that's the light part of the episode. That's the less important part. The more important part is just seeing Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano together on screen in live action. So, John Dunphy, given how much you loved Clone Wars, what was it like seeing this live action reunion?
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. And getting to see specifically Hayden Christensen playing Anakin there with Ahsoka was just fantastic. Like you could hear, like, I feel like Hayden is almost playing it the way that like Matt Lantner, who was the voice actor in the Clone Wars, like you can hear that like he's taken some of that influence too. Like just like the way he looked in the costumes too, like that I've seen so many times watching the Clone Wars. It was amazing. But just getting to see Hayden Christensen and Rosario Dawson playing Anakin and Ahsoka together, in a live action performance was like made me emotional. And then seeing a younger version of Ahsoka played by, Ariana Greenblatt was incredible. Seeing scenes from like the Siege of Mandalore, things like that, like it was just mind-blowing to me. Like I absolutely loved it.
John, over under say 10 episodes of Clone Wars, how many episodes do you think Hayden Christensen has watched leading up to his performance in this episode?
I think he's watched all of the Clone Wars. There's been some interviews out there that he's done, or just comments that he's made that he is very appreciative of Dave Filoni for what the Clone Wars has done for the character of Anakin, because Hayden Christensen received so much hate, after the prequels. People really didn't love his performance, always called him, they said he was whiny and he was such a brat, and like they just hated his performance and yada, yada, yada. But he apparently has come out and said that he loves the Clone Wars because of what it's done for the character of Anakin and what it's given other fans, like a deeper understanding of who Anakin really was, not just this whiny kid that people remember from the prequels, but like a war hero that unfortunately fell to the dark side. But like it really expanded on the character of Anakin itself. And I think that Hayden Christensen has like really taken that in stride, and like he appreciates the character himself even more now. I feel like after the prequels, he probably wanted nothing to do with Star Wars for a while, and then the Clone Wars kind of like helped to build that character up. People have started to appreciate Hayden more and celebrated his return, first in Obi-Wan and now in this. And I think he loves the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel the Clone Wars is the best thing that happened to those prequel films, to really just ground and explore those characters so much more than we got to see in those 3 movies. The biggest thing that could have happened to that prequel trilogy, to make people enjoy just the films themselves, even since they can watch it with the enjoyment of all the characterization that happened during the course of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
James Lott Jr. It's all about reunions. For you, we get to see. It's interesting because we see different phases of Ahsoka's life and her relationship with Anakin and what that means for her. Both with Anakin and without him. So for you, what did you take away from all those scenes?
That's actually a great question. I'm glad you asked me that question because it was very emotional for me as a fan of Anakin / Darth because I had a Vadergasm, literally. I was just like, I had an Anakin-gasm to get a Vadergasm. I loved the cinematography and the direction of some of the scenes. The one scene where he's walking off and goes, you live or you die. And he walks off into battle and it switches to Vader really quick. Then it goes away. When he comes back later, you hear the breathing of Darth. And when she says, there was such good dialogue when she says, because he says, you're all of what, of me, it's all of you, whatever. She's like, what does that mean for me? So for her, she's thinking, what does this mean? Am I part of the bad? I know who you're going to become. Am I part of that too? And I thought that's the duality of Anakin and Darth. That's the duality. He's good and evil. He's both. He represents good and good stuff, but he also turned evil and represents evil and power. And that's her master. And so how do you still respect your master and follow him, especially knowing what's going to come of him? I kind of like that they kind of address that a little bit, and that suddenly they went back in time because she had to address a couple of things in her past, which is a normal thing, right? You can't, run through your past, literally run through your past. You mentioned Rex. That was in there. I love that little. Again, they're just throwing little things in there that just makes sense. They told, again, if you watched it, it makes sense. But I thought showing her as the child version, that's important also, because you always have the inner child. I went really deep into that. I went really deep into it. It was like the inner child of her also is in there, and when she says, "You look the same," in the beginning, she looks the same, goes, "You look older." Great reference. That's totally on purpose, obviously. Love that. I just thought she's tired. She doesn't want to fight, so to speak. He's like, you're going to have to. This is how it is, basically, girl. This is how it's going to be. You can't really fight this. This is how it is. It was such a great, when they first started, he says, I'm not going to fight you. And he goes, I've heard that before. There's all these references, all these things. You're like, oh my God. I'm just having Vadergasm and Nangasm all over the place. I was just like, I'm loving this dialogue and I'm loving it. And then on the outer side of it, you have Jason, the son of Hera and Kanan, another reference that he comes from Jedi, world. He comes from Jedi lineage. And he's like, listen to the water, listen to the waves. And you hear this. I love the cinematography of all of that. I just loved I loved it. I loved it. And I just thought I was just excited the whole time.
Yeah. I feel like as I said up top, I was kind of disappointed in this episode. And I just felt like for me, I needed less fighting and more conversation. I feel like great, you give us the lightsabers because that's a fun visual candy for everybody. It's like, oh, cool, we're swinging lightsabers. Oh, cool, we can see them fight. I don't know. I've seen plenty of lightsaber fights in my life. I'm fine with that. But for me, it's like if I'm going to get a chance to see Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka in an area together to be able to talk about something meaningful and drill deep into this relationship, knowing everything that we know about where Anakin went, becoming Darth Vader, all of that, and then redeeming himself. I was really hoping this was going to be more of an iteration of Anakin that is at post Return of the Jedi, somebody that has been through it all and knows his experiences, and he and Ahsoka can talk about those. That's the kind of stuff I wanted to see explored about that. This was, for me, it was just like, okay. It didn't really hit for me as much as I felt like Dave Filoni wanted this to hit. For me, it didn't resonate. All these interactions.
I have a question for you, actually, on this note. How do you compare this to because we all had some misgivings with the Anakin / Darth and Obi-Wan Kenobi. I feel like they used Anakin better in this series than they did in that one. So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts? I know you were disappointed in that one, just like we were. Were you just both bad, or what do you think?
Those were. It's frustrating because those were great moments that were spread out over too long of episodes. Like that initial meeting was great. You want to see that reaction, and then their final fight. I wish there was a way to kind of combine those together. It's just like, Anakin, Obi-Wan's losing because he's been so disconnected from the Force, but then all of a sudden he gets dialed back in and he's able to kind of fight back Vader at his like old level. I found like those moments once, like the Obi-Wan slashes Vader's mask and you can see Anakin peering through it, and they're able to have those little character beats in there. I enjoyed those moments for sure, because that's at least something that we never really got to see.
Yeah.
I just felt like some of the pacing, the editing of that episode, kind of robbed it of a lot more impact that it could have had. They would have just switched some of the order of some of those shots. It really could have built up to something really great in that episode of Obi-Wan. Yes, I it's like we've seen a little bit more deep into Obi-Wan and Anakin's relationship, which is great, and we got that in Obi-Wan a little bit. But I mean, there's something about like Anakin's Padawan. Somebody that was so close to him for so long, and left before he had his fall from grace, and only learned about the person that he became and the things that he did, and wrestles with that. I don't know. I just felt like there was deeper conversations between the two of them that I was excited that I wanted to hear. Then I don't know. I mean, great. We get to see the fall of Mandalore. Okay, and we get to see them running around. I mean, I don't know. For me, it just wasn't. It didn't go in the direction I was hoping for.
Okay.
What's next?
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah, now we're all sad.
But that was literally the whole episode. The other part of the episode, like I said, it was just basically up above trying to find him. So they get her. And I guess for me, the part that got me, hi you guys, how are everybody? Thank you, Leopardess. For me, the part that got me teared at the end was kind of like, okay, because we don't know where anybody, Sabina, we haven't seen what happened to them yet, right? That's the next episode. I knew it was coming, but I like when homegirl goes down into the water, but it's a symbolic thing. She's coming back into, so they can find her. They tell them to go low and find her. I thought it was very cool because it's almost like a baptism to me of some sort. Like she's coming out of the water. She has this new awakening. She's gonna do this. And then when she said when they were leaving, they're going to go. We'll get to all that stuff next, but I just felt it was just like, wow, it's like she's coming now a little better, maybe a little stronger, and that's how I felt. John, I don't know if you felt the same way, John, at all.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And just on the whole world between worlds thing and everything that Frank was saying, like I definitely understand where you're coming from with that, like because there was a part of me like what I was sort of envisioning once they got to the world between worlds, like it was interesting to see Anakin sort of like use his lightsaber to take the platform that they were standing out, and she was just kind of falling into the scene of the Clone Wars. What we get in Rebels when we see the world between worlds is Ezra is kind of walking through this place, and there's portals of like different moments in time and space, and that's where he eventually sees Ahsoka, pulls her through the portal, stuff like that. And so this did take a different direction than I expected, because they were like really in the middle of these battles, where I almost kind of expected it to be more of like the two of them walking through the world between worlds, maybe passing by portals of moments of their time fighting in the Clone Wars together, things like that, like seeing places they had been, experiences they had been through, together, and maybe talking through it that way. And then maybe we would have gotten more of what you were kind of mentioning, like more dialogue, like fleshing things out. And that is kind of what I was expecting more too. I think everything just looked so visually stunning. And I thought that, like, for me personally, I thought that we got a little bit of enough, I guess, between the talking that we did get, and seeing Hayden Christensen. He is so freaking good with this fight choreography and these lightsabers. Like, I was just so drawn in by it. So I wasn't like disappointed, but it also wasn't what I was expecting, to be honest. But I still loved it. But I totally understand where you're coming from, where you would have loved to hear more dialogue, more sort of them working through, whatever Ahsoka needed to work through. But I still, for me personally, it was still effective. I still really did enjoy it. So
the what you pitched, John, would excite me so much more than what we got on that episode, because it's like, I don't know, for me, I saw those conversations happening between her and Anakin, and I didn't buy like her being in a new place by the end of it. It's there because Dave Filoni has told me it has happened, and she's wearing a lighter colored clothing after she comes out, kind of signifying, oh, she's lighter now. She's wearing more whites in her look as opposed to more of the darks. So it's great.
Well, yeah. What's interesting? Okay. So apparently Filoni is a big Tolkien fan and Lord of the Rings fan. And I didn't realize this at first, but from what I've been seeing and hearing now is that apparently the like working title for this, before just naming it Ahsoka, was Stormcrow, which is a reference to Gandalf the Grey. And so a lot of people are comparing this to Gandalf going from being Gandalf the Grey to Gandalf the White. It's that's an interesting little thing to me also. But
yeah, I see that.
Yeah, I don't know. James, do you feel like there was a lot left unsaid between Anakin and Ahsoka that you wanted to see addressed in this in this episode, or were you like, no, what was shown, that's all I would need? That satisfied me as a viewer of this relationship.
Yeah, I was fine with it. I mean, I didn't go in with any expectations, so I was opposite of you. I didn't go. I was just like, I'm here. I'm open arms, just like sitting here to see what happens, what they give me. And to me, it was fine. For me, it was fine. But what you guys are saying, I see it. It's just one of those writing choices, right? It's like what you guys are proposing, I had no problem with either. I think either one, a long conversation or fight mixed with conversation, it's just two different choices, I think. I don't think either one is. I don't think either one is. I don't think whatever you guys are proposing is wrong, or what I saw was wrong. I think it's choice. I mean, for me, it's just writing choice. Frank and I do soap shows, and sometimes we will say, like, if they did this, we might be more interested. But they did this instead. I mean, I think it's just writing choices for me. I don't think any of them are right or wrong. Both are like, well, they're fine. I got what I needed out of it. I got the emotions I needed out of it. And like John said, I think, and maybe I was mesmerized too by the cinematography of it, how it was shot, how it was put on there. I'm enjoying it's almost like like Anders. I'm enjoying I'm enjoying how they're fulfilling these worlds. That to me is as much as Star Wars as anything else. I mean, I've been watching Star Wars since before you both were born. And I was going to the theaters I've seen every single movie in the theater since 1977 or something, whatever it came out. And it's also the piece of just the worlds they create. That excites me just as much as everything else. The cinematography, the when they come up with the costumes, I look at everything. I love that so much. I feel like maybe I was mesmerized by all that. That I thought they did a good job. It didn't seem like the second set of movies. It's not maybe one of we should do a review on the second set of movies one day, you guys. Maybe we should do it one day on here. But a lot of the CGI was bad. A lot of stuff was bad looking. I feel like the TV shows, the TV series are doing better in creating their looks. So I would say, maybe I was mesmerized by just the whole cinematography of it all. I enjoyed that very much.
Yeah, there's some, like with these shows and these characters, I feel like there's only like some of these things are like, you've got one shot at this. Is way kind of I look at it. It's like an Ahsoka Anakin reunion. Probably we got one shot to look at it in a live action form. Yeah. So like if we're gonna do it, let's we got to hit it. And for this, it's like I felt like it was just too much. I can always see Ahsoka in a lightsaber fight, or any Jedi in a lightsaber fight. If I don't get to see enough in this episode, I'm going to get to see plenty of lightsaber fighting in another episode or another series. or another film. I feel like I'm never going to be at a loss to see cool Jedi action or cool starship fight scenes, but emotional connections between characters, especially ones that the fan, or at least they've helped kind of the series has grown and created these rich characters. I feel like the moments of like having these like true, really deep conversations are few and far between. And so like, when you get it, it's like I want it, I just want it to mean more and be more impactful, at least for me. Then like for this, I was just like, oh, do I really need to see? Great that we could revisit some Clone Wars episodes in a live action setting, but great. Would I rather hear about like, the anger, the fear, the confusion of Ahsoka about what happened with Anakin from becoming, where he was as her master to becoming Darth Vader, killing younglings, becoming Darth Vader, hurting so many people, crushing so many souls, and then redeeming himself at the end of that. At the end, would I rather hear about those conversations?
Here's the thing, Frank. I'll challenge you on this though. Here's the thing: it's not the Anakin show. I wish it was. Trust me, I would watch it. So it's a Ahsoka show, so I don't think they wanted to go into all that.
But I feel like it's like if Ahsoka's carrying this baggage that is kind of like holding her back for wanting to be a master herself, for all the things that she's feeling about unresolved issues with her time with Anakin, her time as a Jedi, what happened with Anakin after she left. Like I feel like all that is mixed up in Ahsoka, kind of where she is, and some of her reluctance to reach out and be that master to Grogu or Sabine. So it's like I feel like that her and Anakin's relationship is like really dialed into this, so that I think you want to have that conversation. So even though it's not Anakin's show, I think how Ahsoka reacts to what Anakin's saying can answer a lot of questions to like and free Ahsoka of some of the baggage that she's maybe rightly or wrongly carrying.
John.
Oh man, this has gotten so deep.
This show is a lighthearted show. What's going on here?
It's gotten so deep.
That's what we do, John. That's what we do. Yeah.
I know. I definitely hear Frank, and I definitely see where you're coming from, and I do agree. I agree to a certain extent. I guess I feel like there were some very impactful scenes, like seeing Ahsoka sit there and put her hand on the hand of the clone that was there, and the dialogue that we got from that. Like I do feel like I would have liked some more dialogue maybe, but I feel like what we did get still kind of showed Ahsoka. I think that for a long time she's blamed herself for a lot of things, like Anakin falling to the dark side and becoming what he became. But I do feel like what we did get, at least for me, like still allowed her to sort of separate it and stop blaming herself for like things that happened. Like Ahsoka has had a very difficult life. She's always been, because I've watched all the Clone Wars and everything, and you see Ahsoka is pretty young, and from the start, she's always involved in war and stuff, and that's all she's known. All she's known is fighting. And seeing it in live action was incredibly striking to me, to see that like she was literally like a teenager, like my niece's age, leading men into battle. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that she's always put so much on herself, and hearing her, like how she ended that whole experience with Anakin when she said, "I choose to live." And like, maybe Ahsoka has always kind of wanted to stop fighting, but I kind of took from this that like, Ahsoka is special. She's a different person. And like, she always is going to be a fighter because there's always a fight to be fought. You know what I mean? So like, she can separate herself from Anakin now, but continue to go on fighting, and continuing to choose to live. And for me, this still did what it needed to do to like sort of express that whole thing to me. But I just I don't know. My mind's all over the place right now.
I mean, that's we're the Thinking Man Star Wars podcast. We're gonna
yeah.
So I know. I think the thing is, and because Frank and I do this, like I said, we do these other shows, and you do your shows too, John. It's just one of those things where I think these kind of shows, well, no one's gonna be all pleased at the same time. Pleased at the same time. It's impossible. But there's probably other folks who think it was even better than we thought it was. Probably folks think it was worse than we thought it was. But the thing is, I love that when you talk on the show because everybody gets to say, "Oh, I agree with what Frank is saying. No, I agree with what James is saying. No, I agree with what John's saying." I think it's these shows. That's the thing with this whole Star Wars. Like I was again, I'm a little older than both of you guys. I never thought, and you guys in the chat who are like my age or older, I never thought I'd see a Star Wars TV show. Period. Just period. I mean, Star Trek always had TV and then went into movies and did both off and on. Star Wars was always, as you guys know, strictly movies and movie based. There was never, besides comics and books, but they were never on. And I say, I don't care, it's TV. Shit, I'm watching on TV, streaming, whatever. Fuck. I never thought of it. So I guess I'm partially just kind of like, then how do you do all these things? I mean, because it's like, every series they announce, I get a little excited. And you're right, we've been disappointed in some, we've liked others, I don't know. I guess I guess I'm also just kind of like, this did what it was needed to do for me. It was okay for me. I liked it anyway, I guess. But you're right. There's always improvement that can happen and other things that could happen. And you're telling us from the perspective of someone who didn't watch all the other stuff. That this is very much a Clone Wars Rebels sequel, so to speak. That we can't fight you on at all. But that they almost kind of admitted that, so to speak, right? They kind of admitted that. But I'm just saying, for those of us, and my sister saying in the chat room, she's older than I am. It's just like I think we're also just excited to have these. I just never thought that and that could cloud some of my judgment a little bit. Because I'm just not used to having this. This is like I'm amazed by it. But you're right. There always can be improvement.
I agree because
sorry. No, I was just going to say that I love that the three of us sort of have different perspectives coming in. You know what I mean? Because it adds, I think, to the show that we're trying to do here of being like, some of us have seen all of Clone Wars or Rebels, some of us haven't, and it's like, okay, well, we're talking about this show now, and like we can all kind of come in with different perspectives. So I really and Frank, again, like I don't necessarily agree with you on everything that you said, but I completely understand it and see where you're coming from. Yeah.
And now coming in is Kim McAndrew. Come on, Kim, come back in. Kim got a job at Disney, folks. So her job, we didn't say anything about that last time. So she's working too late to come on, and she has to. So she loves all you guys. Hopefully she'll be able to come on another time sometime. But she got a real job, kids, at the big company. So she's busy doing that right now. But she loved doing the show with us. We love Kim. She's a part of the GLG Media family. Give a chance to that.
She's helping to keep the lights on for that Disney family, so they can
keep making all the programming. The lights on. Yeah, exactly. She's already doing that. But anyway, like I said, some things are Frank's like I totally get what he's saying. I mean, it'd be wonderful, maybe not. But I don't think Dave would want to go that deep. I don't think on some level. I think it was just this was what he wanted to do with these two characters. I think.
Well, he blew it. So,
I mean, Dave Judge's face. You tell Judge's face.
But it is interesting. Yeah, I will say it is interesting though, because there are so many characters in this show that if you didn't watch Rebels, you might not be totally up to speed.
Yeah, you wouldn't even know.
But as like a Star Wars fan, Anakin is someone that you do know. So like in this instance, Filoni maybe he should have, or maybe you do want to go a little deeper in this moment where we actually have Anakin and Ahsoka. But that wasn't the choice, and I can understand why some people wouldn't like that. But for me personally, I still really enjoyed it. I don't know.
Me too.
And so the end of the episode for episode 5 happens where the rebellion's they're all up. The New Republic is all up on Hera. Like, come on, where's Ahsoka? We're coming. You got to get it together. You got to come back. You might get kicked off. You might be stripped of your rank. But Ahsoka has dialed in using her force powers to look at the broken map to figure out what happened with Sabine, and has a plan now when they see the Purrgil up in the atmosphere. Like, Purrgil's going to be her key. And then in a sequence that just like was excruciatingly long, it was of Ahsoka trying to connect with the Purrgil. To that, like, holy cow! Like that just stretched out. Like that was just so paced, so late. Like, come on. Why is this taking so long? Oh,
John, you take this one first. Why don't you take it first?
I will say, if you need someone to buy you time, Carson Teva is your man.
Carson,
he's great.
He's
great.
Like,
yeah.
I get told like every time he needs to throw someone in one of these series, is bringing Carson. He does it.
Yeah.
Every time.
Also, I think for me, I can understand you feeling the scene was too long, but I was just every time I see those Purgle, I'm
me
locked
too. I
in.
loved it. I know I loved it.
I just love the Purgle. And yeah, I don't know.
It's like
I liked it.
Frank, like they're in the cocoon. They all go up into the air and they do things. Yes, no, I liked it. I thought it was very cool. I thought of you, John, of course. Again, references to the Purgle helping them before in the past. The star whales, they take you places. It was a little weird. You're like, okay, what's happening here? Just go inside them to go, like they go together. But I got a little teary-eyed when she tells Hera, I'm gonna get her. I'm gonna find her. I promise. And she says, may the force be with you. And I totally got teary-eyed. Oh my God, I don't know why.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I did. And then they shoot off and then it goes black. And they're like, okay, that's to me, it was a good episode. I thought, okay, then to me, I was like, okay, episode 6. I didn't see any trailers or anything. I'm like, they're probably all going to meet up. Obviously, it didn't happen with 6 in a second, but I like the Purgle. They're beautiful and they're swimming up there and doing little things. And
I agree. They're cool looking, and the sequence, the story beat in and of itself is cool. But holy cow, did you need to drag it out that long? Like we see Ahsoka pull up in front of the Big Daddy one, and then we cut to the outer space and we see Carson, turn to delay the New Republic forces. And then we cut back and it's still Ahsoka back, just like trying to stick her hand out. Like, holy cow, guys. Like there was some gap. There was some time he was up there spinning his wheels. You could have actually just cut to like, hey, Purgle's on board. We're climbing in the mouth. But instead, we got to just see this long shot. Like, oh, guys.
I have to tell you.
Please.
So, okay. I actually have to tell you. So the first time I watched it, didn't have any thought of this at all. But I watched it again before we started streaming tonight. And I did actually have this thought because they cut to a scene of Carson talking to the New Republic fleet. And then when they went back to the Ghost, where Hera and Jason were sitting, Jason at that moment was like, is Ahsoka really going to try to talk to them? And I literally said to myself, she hasn't even tried talking to them yet. So like, I get it. I do get it. I still don't mind, but like, I do get it. I was like, we've been doing this for a while now. Like, show some urgency.
So we leave episode 5 with them racing across the galaxy to try to get caught up with Sabine. And as we start episode 6, we get to see them just chilling out inside the Purgle, where Ahsoka is kind of frustrated with Sabine for deciding to not destroy the map and go along with to find Ezra rather than destroying the map, stopping them ever getting to Thrawn, and hopefully and possibly stopping him from even coming back to the galaxy, causing who knows untold death in another war. So I will ask in this moment, James, are you team Ahsoka or are you team Sabine?
Wow, that's a crazy question. Because actually, you think about this point, it's 2 separate things, right? It's Sabine's journey to finding Ezra, and it's about getting almost off the island. Wrong show. And then I'm like, Survivor's going to my brain. But no, she has her own journey going on. So you're rooting for her to find Ezra, right? But then you got Ahsoka trying to find Sabine. So that's a whole separate. I mean, so I guess my hope would be is I would hope that Sabine does find Ezra, but that then Ahsoka comes and they all work together to get off the island. I guess. I mean, I guess that's. But they got to fight Thrawn, obviously. But I think there's 2 separate. It's almost. You're right on her own show. It's almost 2 separate stories. It's almost an A and B story. Like
I feel like it comes down to: would you because Ahsoka's all about like, hey, we destroy this and save
Right.
so many millions of lives
Right.
because we can't. Then that way, Thrawn can't get back to our galaxy.
Right.
Or are you with Sabine, where she's like, no, my friend is missing. Finding him is just as important as all these other millions of lives that could possibly be destroyed if Thrawn were to make his way back to the galaxy as well.
Well, be frank, if this is Star Wars, there's always an opera in there somewhere of Star Wars space operas. I mean, there has to be some kind of human connection. You know, that's why they show Jason. I had no use for the kid before, and I'm like, well, now this episode 5, he kind of did his job. It kind of works, but that's what they do. They add these little extra human things, so it's not just so much fight, war. It's like we gotta have a human element in there. So that's always messes everything up, right, Frank? You have to have a human element messes everything up. Nothing goes smoothly because of the human element. I think that's the storytelling that Star Wars has always chosen to tell, right? That's what they choose to tell. So I guess it's a moot point, so to speak. That's the whole point, is that Ahsoka has a job to do, but Sabine wants her friend. That's how it is now. Ahsoka has to deal with it.
The best thing about all of this, though, is to find out that James Lott Jr. is a big Jason stan now. That's great.
I love Jason. I love Jason.
I was like, kids. Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, he's connected, and I get it. But then, like episode 5, I was just like, he was useful. It was fine.
Are we going to be having the new Jason is my daddy podcast?
No. Jason is my dad. No, really. No. Darth is always still daddy. But I just think that's always about Star Wars. There's always that human thing. It's always in it. It always screws everything up, so to speak. And a lot of the live action stuff, especially.
John, how are you feeling? Can you do you agree Sabine with her point of view why she's doing what she's doing, or is she being completely reckless and foolish with so many millions of people's lives?
Here's what I think. Sabine's an idiot. She is. She is. But I do also have to say that, like, if she had destroyed the map, she would have been killed right then and there. You know what I mean? Like she didn't really, at that point, like, she would have saved countless lives potentially. We don't really even know yet what this effect, how this will play out. But the safe bet is that by destroying this map, she would have probably saved countless lives. But I also feel like maybe somehow Thrawn would have found a way to get back anyway. And now her going with them allows Sabine to not only stay alive, but locate Ezra. And maybe now he is going to be crucial in this fight against Thrawn. You know what I mean? So it's like this, yeah, she made the wrong decision. It might have been a selfish decision because she just wanted desperately to find her friend and find Ezra. But like, maybe there's a purpose for this, and I feel like Hu Yang kind of like was trying to talk to Ahsoka about this, like, because Ahsoka was saying she made this decision for herself, and Hu Yang is kind of saying like, well, maybe she had no other choice, and it's maybe there was just something out there that's Thrawn would have found his way somehow eventually anyway through the help of the Night Sisters or something like that, and we need Ezra to come back. And maybe if Sabine doesn't make the decision that she does, Thrawn comes back and there is no Ezra to help against this threat. Like maybe we find out that that's how it goes. So my immediate reaction is, Sabine, what the hell are you doing? But at the same time, it's like, well, maybe there's a purpose for all this. Maybe there's a reason that all this is happening. So, but
jumping to, because we're talking about Sabine and her kind of poor decisions, I will just jump to the end. If you're watching us, you know what happened in this episode. They do find Ezra and they are reunited. But I would think in that moment, like what frustrated me about that reunion, as nice as it was, even though I didn't have that emotional connection, as I said earlier, was just there's a ticking clock with all this, and I felt like Sabine wanted, like, can I just sit here and just enjoy this fighting my friend? Like, no, you can't. You can't do that. Yeah. Options 1, Thrawn survives and leaves you behind in this galaxy that you're never going to get home from. So why are we just sitting here just like well, let me just sit here and just bask in my found friend glow.
I could not stop thinking.
I kind of agree with Frank on that part. That part made me chuckle because like we're gonna help them pick up stuff. Help them just like, look, we need to go. Come on, folks, we got to go.
Right.
We don't hang out in the same spot. I'm like, I kind of with Frank, I do agree with that one. I was kind of like, yeah, the urgency is like you found him. Should be like, oh my god, I found you. First they talk. Well, no, you want to talk to Frank. They talked first, then they hugged. It was like I would go, oh my god, Frank, I found you. Hug first. It's so good to see you. Get the F out of here. And I kind of agree with Frank on that one. It's kind of we need to go because homeboy and homegirl on their howlers on the way over there trying to get them. So I'm like, they don't she doesn't know this, of course, but I mean they're coming. They're it's like we got to go. It's like, but it was kind of slow. And it's like everybody. There's stuff. Why the campsite still up? I mean, hello, folks. We got to go. We got to go. So I agree with Frank on that.
Right. No, I agree also because Thrawn straight up told Sabine like, if you're not back by the time my starship leaves, you're stranded here forever. Yep. So it's like I would have thought, okay, I found Ezra in pretty good time. It seems like it was only all in one day. So like, let's get back to the ship now, find a way to sneak on and get back to our galaxy because they don't know Ahsoka is on her way. Like
they don't.
And I can only imagine. I was thinking about this too when Sabine was talking to Ezra, like, oh, can't I just enjoy this? And I'm like, Ezra is going to be so pissed when he finds out that the only reason that you are here right now and found him is because you gave Thrawn the means to get back to the galaxy that you banished him from in the first place.
Yes, exactly.
Ezra's whole sacrifice of getting Thrawn out of there is now about to be wiped out, and you're going to be left behind here. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't hurry it up, like, I'm sorry, Sabine, like, enjoy the moment for a second and then tell Ezra, listen,
I agree with that.
Everything's not good. I didn't want it to go this way, but I got here because Ahsoka, as far as Sabine knows, Ahsoka's dead. So like, you know what I mean? Like I would immediately go in there and be like, listen, so glad that we found you. Great reunion. But here's what happened. I think Ahsoka might be dead. Thrawn has a way to get back to our galaxy. We have to get out of here and figure out what to do.
Yeah, like, I agree with you on that.
Finally, it took us this long into the podcast.
Yes.
On the meeting of the minds. Oh
no.
No, because funny because I was going, okay, this is on soap shows, they have this one device where it goes, I know who you really are. I'm going to call the cops. And they turn around to call on the phone. I'm always like, don't turn around. Don't turn around. It's like that kind of thing. So I felt like this was that's like, okay, hi, good to see you. Glad I found you. So I wouldn't even do all the talking. I'll explain everything later. We got to go. Like, seriously. But it was like, we got to help them pick up everything. We don't stay in one place very long. Why is all this shit just sitting out there? Come on, folks. We got to go. Come on, these turtles. We got to get out of here. So that part I did think of that part. I was kind of like, I like the reunion. I like that you found them. And it was kind of fast you did find them. And I got that part was kind of crazy. But I figured for time, I'll accept it because there's only 2 episodes left. It's fine. But I was just like, yeah, we gotta get out of here, folks. We got things to do.
Yeah, I mean, they made it the way when Thrawn like says, "Hey, yeah, here we go. We'll give you your weapons back. We'll give you a ride. We know he's here on this planet. If he's still even alive, good luck. And we're leaving. It's going to be 3 days, and then we're out." But it made it seem like finding Ezra was going to be like, geez, a needle in a haystack type of situation.
Right.
And just I'm right there. Okay. It was kind of, I was like, yes, I guess it's really 2 episodes left. Yes.
Yeah.
But do we need to really set up how hard it was going to be to find Ezra if we were just going to have her find him in the same episode?
Well, Frank, the thing got me also was them adding the kind of comedy aspects. Is very Star Wars. They love everything. The Howler left her, so now she's mad at the Howler, and that part kind of. But it's very Star Warsy of them to do that. Always have and now her and the Howler are one, so to speak. And I'm like, we didn't need all that either. I mean, that part we didn't need all that. We didn't need all that.
I'll be honest. Like, if I was, to use a horse as an example, if a horse took off on me but then came back, I'm not going to keep walking and just admonish the horse.
Right.
I'm going to get back on you and we're going to keep riding.
Yeah.
I don't, what do I gain by just still walking?
I agree.
while you're just walking behind me. Get out of here.
Yeah, in that example, if the horse came back, I'd be like, thank God. Oh my God. Not send the horse away. Like, what?
Yeah, so that part I agree with you, Frank. That was like, but that's what Star Wars does, though. They always add these little moments like that. They do it all the time.
Yeah.
Hooray.
Hooray. I was like, I'm just saying, they do it all the time. I saw it happen and go, I was kind of like, okay, we don't need this part either.
So the big thing for this episode, while episode 5 was all about seeing Anakin and Ahsoka talk in this episode, episode 6 is all about what we've been teased about in so many trailers, so many discussions about the series, and that's seeing Grand Admiral Thrawn live and in full effect in live action. So, John Dunphy, what was your immediate reaction when you saw your boy walking through all those ranks of stormtroopers towards our people that came to save him from another galaxy?
I was blown away. I'm telling you. And the minute he started speaking, hearing that voice, there is no one else that I want to hear voice Grand Admiral Thrawn or play Grand Admiral Thrawn than Lars Mikkelsen. My God, like that voice is so just intimidating and imposing, and it's like I knew that, like, you know, he got taken away on this, you know, Star Destroyer too, so I knew that there was going to be stormtroopers there, but like, even the look of all of them, like their armor, how they had like the red, you know, wrapped around them, different parts of their armor and stuff like that, like their dirty looking uniforms, like you can tell that these troopers have been through some shit, like and then hearing Thrawn at one point talking about how his, you know, the numbers have dwindled since they've been stranded. Like it was just so much about, like, I want to know more about what the last, I guess, 10 years or so have been like for Thrawn and these troopers that have been stuck on this Star Destroyer on this kind of wasteland of a planet. Like, I want to hear more about everything they've been through, how Thrawn has, like, because even hearing all the troopers chanting Thrawn, 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 like, you know, when he first came out and we saw him, like it seems like they seem so tribal, and like I'm just very interested in learning more about Thrawn and this banishment he's been through with his whole crew of troopers and everything. I think they were referring to them in the captions as night troopers, actually, rather than stormtroopers.
They were.
So I was blown away though by Thrawn's entrance, and I can't say enough also in both episode 5 and 6, cannot say enough about Kevin Kiner's score, because the music just adds so much to it. And the music playing when Thrawn comes out, and you hear the chanting of the troopers saying Thrawn over and over again, and that Enoch, like the leader of all the troopers with that mask, and just everything about this entrance gave me chills. Really, really loved it. I'm so happy to see a live action Thrawn. I can't get over it.
I have to agree with John completely. To me, the cinematography again, the way it was shot. You don't see Thrawn face yet. You see the stormtroopers come out, and just how it just looks, just looking at them, and then panning across, and you see some are facing forward and some are facing sideways, so he can open up the runway for him to come down. You see his feet. You see the side of his face. You see, like, they come back to them watching him come in, and they pan back. Plus the music, the chanting. I loved his entrance. I thought his entrance was worthy of notice. The blue face, everything. Again, seeing it in real form. I loved it. I love the entrance. Loved it.
Yeah. I will say that the look of Enoch, the one with the faceplate on the Stormtrooper mask, I don't know, visually striking to me. And so I don't know if is that a carryover from Rebels, or is that just new to this?
I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
There was a brief moment where I was like, "Is this Ezra?"
Me too. I mean? No, me too. When he turned around, I was like, "Oh my God, is it Ezra?" That's not. I thought it was too. I did.
Right, because as soon as if that was Ezra, and let's say Ezra had been brainwashed or like taken to the dark side or whatever, the minute that he saw Sabine there, that something would have happened. And so like once that didn't happen, I was like, all right, there's no way it's Ezra. But there was because a big theme throughout Rebels is that Ezra loves to collect stormtrooper gear and paint it and make it look different. And like, it's always a running joke. Like, there's a scene in Rebels that I remember where Zeb is like about to knock out a stormtrooper, and he asks Ezra, he goes, "Do you have this helmet yet?" You know what I mean? Like, it's always a big thing for Ezra, like collecting stormtrooper gear and stuff. So like seeing that, I was like, this almost looks like something Ezra would do, like taking this armor, making it his own. So there was like a brief moment I thought that might be possible, but yeah, once there was no acknowledgement from him when Sabine showed up, I was like, okay, no way it's Ezra. Yeah. But Enoch, super cool. Never saw it in Rebels.
Yeah, never.
No, a very, very cool look. I was like, all right, that could be an action figure I'd get. He's creepy looking. I'm digging him. Now we also have we've got the Night Sisters. We get to see them with their cool little 3 circles that can serve as a some kind of weird triangle, but also like cage that can lasso a person and then guide them to some whatever cell they need to be guided to. But we have Baylan and Shin, and we get a little bit more vagueness in terms of what Baylan is looking for on this planet, or what he hopes to find. So James, do you have how clear do you feel what Baylan's objective is, and how interested are you?
I'm very interested, only because the actors are doing a great job. The character, I don't know what he wants either, because it's funny. But see, to me, now going to something you said earlier, I feel like Baylan talks a lot more than the other characters, and he talks about the past a lot, and he talks about the past in patches. Gives you a piece, that piece. And so with Shin, he's not giving her everything. He's very anecdotal. He kind of just answers back something she says, basically with some piece of knowledge of the past, and then kind of like, well, no, you'll be fine or whatever. And with Morgan, same thing. He's asking questions of her because she has her own agenda. Of course, I don't talk about her. But I feel like we don't know because he says he wants a certain kind of power, but he seems to realize Thrawn is only part of this process. He said it's fleeting. This whole thing is fleeting right now. But there's something else. Well, I don't know what it is. I mean, maybe they'll tell us. But there's something more going on for him. He understands because he was an ex-Jedi. He knows all that stuff there. He's a general. I love when Thrawn goes, "Oh, you mean general?" Let's go. It's like, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think we don't know what his end game is. But he wants something. But he seems so wistful. Like he wants something more than just immediate power. He wants something emotional too, it feels like, to me. So I feel like of characters who are talking more on the show, I feel like he's talked the most, basically. He's not even in a lot of scenes, as you know. But I feel like when he gives you information, you're listening to him going, wow, like what's going on there? I don't know. That's like how I
John, I feel like with James, I feel like Baylan is super interesting just because he's not just it's not black or white with him. There's a lot of gray in Baylan. But for you, I'll ask you, because it seems that his plan involves something about changing what he sees as just like the ebb and flow of the light side and the dark side of the Force, and the inevitable rises and falls that both sides have. And he wants to just get rid of all of that. Does that seem like what he's after, and what do you think that might be?
Yeah, like it seemed to me like there was a lot of conflict in both Baylan and Shin in episode 6. Like, and I felt like early in the season, like episodes 1 and 2, that like I wasn't sure, like, could they maybe turn? Could they change sides at some point? And then we got to episodes 3 and 4, and I was like, no, they seem a little bit stronger, a little bit more strong in their convictions than I thought at first. Like Baylan seemed like very set, like that he had this goal. And then here in episode 6, again, I was getting more like feelings that Baylan and Shin, especially when you see they first arrive at Peridia, when they travel to this new galaxy, and Shin is like more witches, like and like, yeah, like I just episode 6 made me feel like there's a lot more conflict between within themselves than I saw in episodes like 3 and 4 when we saw them.
John, what it is, I feel like I'm seeing that Baylan's not all in with Morgan.
Yeah,
like he's all in with her. Like he's looking at going these, like I said, there's these witches in here, and there's some stuff going on. I don't think he's that comfortable with.
Yeah, and sorry. I feel like no, don't be sorry. But I also feel like part of me feels like while Baylan sees the flaws in the Jedi Order, that he was a part of, and like there's still a part of him that really loved the Jedi Order. And like, so when he's talking about like this new power, like they're in this new galaxy now where for all we know, there's no Jedi, there's no Sith. And I'm wondering if like what his goal was to get to this new place, because Shin even asked him in episode 6 at one point, like, this is where you see this future, in this wasteland. Like, was Baylan's goal to get to this new galaxy where there are no Jedi, there are no Sith, and make the Jedi Order in his own image, like his own vision? Like, I want to make the Jedi Order what it should have been in our past galaxy. Like I'm wondering if that has been his goal. Like, are they now the first Force wielders Jedi in this new galaxy, and he can build what he thought the Jedi Order should have been in the other galaxy? Like he can do that here. And that's why he's talking about like, I'm not looking for this. I want to break this cycle of, the Jedi Order rises and then they fall. The Empire rises and then they fall. Like, I want to break this cycle. Let's go to this new galaxy, and I'm going to start the Jedi Order here the way it should have been. And like, I'm wondering if that's what his vision is. But you can see that like maybe the means to that end, right? This whole alliance with Morgan Elsbeth, and by extension by, with Thrawn and the Night Sisters, like, is he having doubts now? Like, can I, in good conscience, start this new beginning here in this new galaxy if I know that what I've, the course of events that I've set off in the old galaxy that we were a part of is going to cause death and destruction? Like, because we saw in episode, what was it? Episode 5, right? Or episode 4, like he was talking about Ahsoka. Your legacy is that of your masters, death and destruction. And it's like, is your conscience going to be clear if you get to start this new beginning and start this new Jedi Order, but the cost of that is causing a legacy of death and destruction in your old galaxy? Like, I don't know. It's very interesting. A lot of conflict. I feel Ray Stevenson is amazing. I love Baylan. I love Shin. It's all very interesting. I feel like there's so many different ways to go here.
And when with Thrawn going, and if we leave them behind too, lose them too, who cares? Like, I mean, I think Baylan knows that on some level too. Like, we can't fully trust him either. Like, but it's not the way he looks at Morgan and stuff. Is like he doesn't really care for her much either. It's kind of like she's a means to an end. He says this place, is where dreams and madness are, or whatever. It's like, but he's looking at this place so wistfully, like just like this can make it happen. And she was like, "What the F's going on here? I don't know what's going on here." Because he is, like, to Frank's point, he isn't giving everything away. He's just giving little bits and pieces, and kind of like, here we go. So I don't know what his plan, but he's such an interesting character, and for the scenes they give him, I feel like they give him some good scenes.
Yeah, it's and even the way that Shin reacts to stuff, where first she stabs Sabine in episode 1, and she's ready to kill her in episode 4, but then like this episode when feels like Sabine's like the deal that was being made with Sabine's not being honored. She's getting like, what? What's the we're gonna? How are you gonna try to screw her now? So it's like, what's going on with you, Shin? What's going? We'll see. I'll be curious to see how that develops. All I know is I don't know what's in store for Baylan at the end of this. I with Ray Stevenson's passing, I'll be curious to see if it's would they have to recast the character, or do we just never see this character again in live action? It's only just in books and maybe animated versions.
Do we know yet? This is season 2 yet? Do we know yet?
No,
I don't. Yeah, I don't think we do. But oh God, I love the character so much, but I just can't imagine anyone else playing the character.
I know, me too. But but life does go on, kids, and
there
could be another actor out there who could do a really good job. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he could. It's always hard. Recasts happen all the time on other shows sometimes, and sometimes they're successful and other times they're not.
No. Well, I mean, guys, if I'm being honest, and I feel like I don't think it's too braggadocious to say that Lucasfilm probably watches this podcast or listens to the audio form of this.
They do.
So everybody, Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy, Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
Take a look at John Dunphy here. Look at that beard. He'll die at salt and pepper for you.
I will. I will do it. I will.
There's your next Balin right there.
There, they watch. I know they watch. They don't say it, but I know they watch.
I'll dye the beard. I'll practice the voice, everything.
There you go. See?
There you go. Ready.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, I'm like, well, if this is a one-off season, I'm curious how they're going to end it. But if we get at least another season, I wouldn't mind another season if because it's just going by so fast. But I don't know what the end game is for this series because Frank, you're kind of right on some level. So what is Ahsoka's journey? I don't really know what it is. We kind of got all these different characters things going on, but I don't know what. It's not clear what the end game is going to be. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess she wants to stop Thrawn.
I guess, right?
After that, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, does she join Luke?
Right.
And try to train, other Jedi after that? Is she in a good place now? Or she feels she could do that now? But I'll be curious to see where that would take her.
I don't know where they're gonna take her.
I could see this movie, that we're waiting for with all these different series. I could, yeah. But I could see this movie. I think we could see Ahsoka's death by the end of this movie. I feel like Dave Filoni created this character. Ahsoka was in Clone Wars, in Rebels, has shown up in Mandalorian, now has her own show. By the time this movie comes, I could see Dave Filoni feeling like no one can wrap up this character except for me. And so I could see Ahsoka making some kind of ultimate sacrifice, kind of like what I was mentioning before with like Tolkien and Lord of the Rings, like Ahsoka, comparisons of Ahsoka going from Ahsoka the Gray to Ahsoka the White, like Gandalf, almost it being sort of like a thing where it's like, Gandalf only came back in Lord of the Rings to complete his task, and then he went back. And maybe this is the sort of thing where it's like Ahsoka is here for a certain reason, to stop this war, to stop Thrawn, and maybe in the movie that we get, she accomplishes that task, and then her time is over. And I don't want to see anybody, no one else other than Dave Filoni should be the person that decides how Ahsoka's arc ends.
Here's the thing, John. I wonder, John, if this alleged movie or hypothetical movie should it be more like a Marvel thing where we start wrapping up everybody in one big movie? Should we bring Mandalorian in and Boba Fett in and it's like just wrap it all up, kids? It's like, should we do that? Or should it be a separate Mandalorian film and a separate Ahsoka film? Because I heard Mandalorian they were thinking about doing a movie wrap up, so to speak, and not do a season 4.
Yeah.
Rumors of that. It's all alleged, folks. I don't know nothing. I don't work there, but it's just allegedly. So I was wondering, or should they just do one big? They're all on the same timeline, basically. These latest ones. Let's wrap it all up together, folks. It's just like get it all done. Right. I don't know. I don't know.
I do think that like the plans initially, at least, were to have all these characters have at least one more season of their shows. But like, if the writer's strike and the actor strike, has affected this in any way, I wouldn't be upset if we got a Mandalorian movie, an Ahsoka movie, and then a wrap up of this, like, Heir to the Empire with Grand Admiral Thrawn as like the finale, like another movie.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Frank, what do you think, Frank?
Yeah, I mean, I think just like one at this point, I think one movie would not be enough. I think it would do a disservice to all those characters by putting them all together in one movie. Okay. At this point, I feel like you would need maybe 2, maybe 3 films if you wanted to like some really cool sweeping stuff, and to give all those characters the attention that they deserve, and to really, really pay off any story arcs that you're hoping to resolve that have carried over from their individual series. It's because I feel like doing it in one, it's just all going to be rushed, and at the end of it, you're going to be like, oh, that was cool, but there's always going to be something that's going to be left because there wasn't enough time.
But Frank,
that somebody's going to grab about.
But Frank, let's be frank for a second.
Let's do it.
I mean, I didn't care for season 3 of Mandalorian. Boba Fett was whatever, and so they kind of petered out to me. So I'm like wondering, do we trust in these people to do a good wrap-up film? To have, or are we saving everybody's time and money by doing a grouping and just saying, here we go, and get out there and give them a general threat, and they all just do. I don't know. I mean, what do you think? I mean, we've seen promise in the beginning. It's like, not counting Andor or Anderson, but we've seen promise, and then.
Yeah, I mean, and who knows? None of us are dialed into the inner workings of Lucas. I mean, we've all read stuff, we've heard rumors, we've seen YouTube videos of people with inside sources, saying that there was a lot of contention in season 3 of The Mandalorian. So maybe if that's sorted out, if that's true, and that caused some of the uneven storytelling and some of the poor choices that were made in season 3, if that stuff's resolved, then maybe a season 4 and a season 2 of Ahsoka could be good. And then if you gave them second seasons and then just gave them a tie-up movie at the end, great.
Okay. John, what do you think?
Oh yeah, I agree. I think I also think that Skeleton Crew is supposed to factor into this also.
Yeah, I'm curious.
So, and honestly, I think that Dave Filoni at this point should just be handed the keys to all Star Wars projects. And I think if you have one person like that, like Filoni, who was like basically George Lucas's, choice to carry the torch, like I feel like if Dave Filoni is at the helm of these things, you want to give Mando another season, Ahsoka another season, have Skeleton Crew, and then wrap this up with a movie. I think that they could do it well, as long as it's being handled by Dave Filoni.
So John Favreau's out now. You don't want nothing to do with him.
Well, John Favreau too. But I feel like Dave Filoni has to be the main guy. And I feel like I get there's going to be different directors, for episodes and stuff like that. And I think that on Ahsoka, for this season, they've all done a great job, all these directors. But if you have one person writing and leading the vision across all shows, whether it's Mando, Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew, the movie that's coming out, just have Dave Filoni being the main guy coming up with all the ideas. I feel like sometimes Star Wars has been diminished by having too many cooks in the kitchen, where it's I think that if Dave Filoni was at the helm of the Obi-Wan series, we would all be feeling very differently about that series. You know what I mean? Because I think it had its moments, but ultimately I was underwhelmed by that, how that came out. But I feel like if Dave Filoni, he is clearly like the most in tune with what Star Wars is supposed to be, with what George Lucas's vision was. He needs to be at the helm of all this stuff, and we can wrap it up. And I would trust him to do it.
I agree with you on the thing, like with the last trilogy movie set, having somebody different. I mean, it was dumb.
Yeah,
it was dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something to be said about having one person oversee it all, and then from beginning to almost to end, so to speak. I was listening to this is totally side note we do on the show. I'm listening to the Jack and Will podcast. It's for Will and Grace. It's the guys who play Jack and Will, and they're rewatching every episode and talking about it. And they're saying director James Charles was the director of the whole. Not James Charles, whatever the fuck his name is. He was anyway.
James Burrows.
James Burrows. Thank you. He was director the whole. I mean, all 8 seasons plus the 3 reboot seasons. And they were saying, because they've all worked on the shows, there's someone having the same director who knows the characters, knows the movements, knows the rhythm, knows, like, just to have, maybe have different writers kind of, but there was a head writers with the 2 creators. Like, John, you're onto something with that. And I think that's something, but I understand, like, in some franchises, they like to have, well, this person just pick up from the last person, and this person pick up from the last, like, we're going to have 3 different types of, like, that sounds cutesy on paper, but then it doesn't deliver. So I think at some level you need to have somebody. I agree with you. I think you need to have somebody just fully overseeing it all, and then execute it.
Yeah, I feel like especially in the case of Dave Filoni, like, not only does he know these characters, he created them. You know what I mean? Like, there's no one else on Earth that knows the characters from Rebels or Ahsoka better than Dave Filoni. They came from his mind. They came from his brain.
Who's the one responsible bringing it? I guess bringing this live action. Was it John? Was he the one responsible for the Mandalorian, the first thing coming out? Wasn't him?
I guess.
I mean,
think John
it was a
Favreau,
collab, right? Isn't it a collab between Filoni and Favreau?
Oh yeah, I think so for that one. Yes, I think you're right. I'm trying to figure out which one was the one that did they both get it greenlit. I'm trying to get who got it. I mean, I didn't watch first season Mandalorian until a little later. I'm trying to get who got it greenlit in the first place. I was like,
yeah, I'm not sure.
I would feel that it was probably more Favreau just because of his live action experience.
Yeah,
I mean, Filoni's definitely got the deep knowledge of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah,
but I mean, it really wasn't until like Mandalorian started taking off that he was able to get to like really start dabbling in live action directing and stuff.
Yeah.
We also get in this episode too a little montage of Sabine when she's making her way trying to find Ezra, that she gets into. The whole warning is look out for the nomads. Nomads are going to get you. And so maybe they're a threat. Who knows? Clearly to these crab rock aliens, I guess they are. Yes. Which doesn't blame me because they're those crab rock guys aren't really packing a lot of muscle. But Sabine gets into a
Teenage Mutant Ninja crab turtles.
They look like that.
Heroes in a rock shell.
She's like
crab turtle power.
It's a rock. You're embarrassing yourself. I'm like, okay. Again, it is little cutesy stuff. Like I don't need the cutesy stuff. I don't need it. I just think that's the part that bugs me a bit. It bugs me a bit. The little cutesy moments. Like, I don't need those. I mean, I know they do that all the time. I know they do it to break it up a little bit.
You didn't want to see one of the baby crab rocks being in a hammock?
Frank, I felt like Frank Moran when I saw that scene when they were panning across, and I'm like, what am I watching right now? Like, we kind of get just their encampment, but there's a baby in a hammock. I was like, that's what I'm watching right now. I'm like, that's what I'm watching right now. Like, that's what I'm like. But it's such a because now let's make the threat really happen, because maybe the next episode, as they're trying to leave. I mean, it's like, you can make me feel something. You don't need to give me a baby or a kid. I mean, I have some kids or whatever, grandkids or whatever, but I don't need a baby to make me care all of a sudden. It's like, you can do other stuff. But I saw that. I thought when it panned across, I'm like, is that a baby in a hammock? Big ol' eyes. I'm like, did I really need to see that today? I don't think so.
Well, we do get to see Sabine pull out her lightsaber during her fight with the nomads, or Ezra's lightsaber that she's modified. Yes. And she does a little, whipping some ass moment there. But throughout this episode, we kind of tease a little bit more. Is Sabine tapping into the Force or not? We get a scene earlier in the beginning of the episode where he kind of nods to that, but turns out to be just a red herring. I'm going to ask both of you. At this point, do you even care? Like, I feel like this whole is Sabine a Jedi? It's such a nothing burger of a story idea to me. It's like you could strip that all out of this, and we would still be right exactly where we're at. And because I just don't know if this is that little addition to Sabine, if it's really even bringing anything extra to the table. James, what do you think?
I actually agree with you. Good night, everybody. See you next time. No, I agree. That's actually, I almost forgot that was actually part of the story. You just said it right now. Like, that's even, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, her story has been so much, I want to find Ezra, that I forgot there was a whole little, remember I made fun of the last little Jedi moment they were trying to do with her and so I'm like, again, it's like, now that's where more talking should happen there too. But Ahsoka and Sabine have been separated the last 3 episodes. They ain't been together. So I don't know if that's coming or she'll be coming to her own now the last 2 episodes. I guess that could possibly be happening. But I'm with you on that one. I'm like, I forgot that's part of her story. Because he mentioned this episode, she's a Jedi. She smells like Jedi, or she didn't say she smells like Jedi, but you know what I mean. They were like Jediing her while she was standing there. And like I said, we got pieces of the Force. That was kind of sad that we didn't really see it happen. I was like, it was kind of they're opening doors anyway. Well, okay. It was like it was kind of like that. Kind of sucked. I wish we saw more of a scene of her really trying to use the powers and going like, "Damn it, I can't get it." I would take that. I almost forgot that is part of her story, isn't it? I guess I don't know. I'm with you, Frank.
Yeah, because John, I mean, Balin's Thrawn's troops give her back all her weapons, including the lightsaber. Clearly, they're not worried about what she's going to be able to do with it. So, how do you feel, John?
I agree with both of you actually on this. I don't think it's necessary for the story. Like it feels like they're setting us up for Sabine in the finale episode to have some big moment where she uses the Force or something. Like that's what it feels like we're leading to. But I don't think it's necessary for this. Like like all these moments, right, of her trying to grab the cup when she was on Ahsoka's ship and trying to get out of the prison cell that she was in, and then the witches of Dathomir saying, "Oh, it reeks of Jedi," and everybody looks at her, and you see Ahsoka. It's just not Ahsoka. Sabine is just like, "What?" Like she's like, "Wait, me? I'm not a Jedi." Like she doesn't even believe she's a Jedi, you know. Like even though we know she's been being trained, and it like there's all this focus on her using the Force or trying to use the Force. And I don't know. We'll see how it all pays off in the end, I guess. Maybe I'll like it. Maybe I won't. But at this point, I feel like it's totally unnecessary to the rest of the story. Yeah, I agree with you guys. I don't need this part. I'm also, oh, sorry. I'm also wondering.
John.
No. I was curious because now that Ahsoka, my God, I keep saying Ahsoka and I mean Sabine.
It's her show.
Now that Sabine and Ezra are reunited, right? We know that Sabine has Ezra's lightsaber, even though she has modified it. Does she give this lightsaber back to him, or do we find out that Ezra has somehow found a kyber crystal and built a new lightsaber? Like, do they both have lightsabers right now? Like, I'm interested in that, how that will play out too. Like, I don't know. That's like the one thing about Sabine being a Jedi. Like, does she get to keep Ezra's lightsaber now that she found him, or does she give it back to him? Or does he already have a new one? Like, I don't know. That's one little thing that's interesting to me, but everything else about Sabine being a Jedi, I could completely do without, and I'd be fine.
Yeah, I mean, that thought crossed my mind as well about who's going to gain property ownership of that lightsaber once those two are reunited. But for me, it's like the show's definitely kind of played it like, oh, she's terrible as a Jedi. You know, Hu Yang saying she's, the worst of the worst that he's had to train. We're constantly being shown throughout the series so far that she's got no kind of proclivity towards the Force. So if in the last episode they want to have that big moment, it's like, I don't know, great, sure, whatever. I feel like I don't really have any invested in that. I mean, if I'm going to say a big Jedi moment, let me see Ezra. I mean, if you're bringing Ezra back, let's let him have his big Jedi moment, and let's just Sabine be her kind of crafty Mandalorian self instead.
Yeah. And I was glad that in episode 6 they showed Ahsoka. Oh my God, I did it again. I'm glad they showed in episode 6 Sabine, not Ahsoka. They showed Sabine like really kicking ass, because from what we know from Rebels, Sabine is a great fighter. And I feel like in some of the battles she's had, like in the first couple episodes with Shin, where she got stabbed, like it looked like Sabine didn't know what she was doing in a fight at all. And at least here we saw, okay, Shin has obviously been trained more than Sabine has. She has, a lot more skills in the way of using the Force and everything that Sabine has. So it's understandable why Sabine would lose to Shin in a fight. But like, that doesn't mean Sabine is a bad warrior. Like, she is a badass. And we got to watch her cut through all these bandits. So I'm glad they gave Sabine a moment to shine and like really show off her skills as a warrior, as a fighter, and as a Mandalorian. So I'm glad we got that. But I don't need all this other, hints that she might be a Jedi or a Force wielder in any way. I don't need that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me, it's certainly a matter of taking the Rebels ride yet, but at least for the little bit that I've seen of Sabine, like I feel like this, is she or is she not a Jedi, is doing her no favors as a character. It's like I'd rather just let her just be her natural self and not add that extra layer to it, because it's like, I'd rather see other scenes just letting Sabine be Sabine and not all these like, nope, you're the worst. By far, you're the worst Jedi I've ever tried to train. Okay, got it. So, well, we are coming to the end of this episode as we see, that Thrawn finds out that Ahsoka's on the way. The Night Sisters is always just narking on those Jedi.
Yeah, always.
And Thrawn's like, all right, any Purrgil that come out of orbit, warp, just blast them, just destroy them. So we know there's a lot of Purrgil coming. There's going to be a lot of Purrgil death coming in that episode. There's going to be some kind of Purrgil massacre. Who knows?
John, Purrgil massacre. You'll be sad.
Yeah, I hate that. But I got to tell you, like, the Purrgil we've seen multiple times from Rebels, and they destroy ships. I don't know if you noticed in this episode, in episode 6, that the Thrawn Star Destroyer wasn't looking too good. All that damage it had to it, that was because of the Purrgil. So while I didn't like Thrawn saying that, like, oh yeah, destroy it with prejudice or whatever, if a Purrgil arrives, like, I think the Purrgil are going to be able to hold their own.
They might.
All right. Well, as we're getting ready to wrap up, James Lott Jr., with only 2 episodes left, what is one thing you're hoping to see?
That's a good question. I don't. I literally have been open arms just watching to see, because I don't know where this is going. But now that as we really did go in depth these last 90 minutes on the show in general, it almost feels like we were talking about the whole season. I don't know. I don't know what I want to see. I really don't. I think it can go anywhere. I think I'm curious to see what Dave has in store for us. Will it be a big letdown? Because that could totally happen. Or will it be really good and better than expected? I'm skeptical. I'm skeptically optimistic.
All right.
I know. I'm just yeah, Chris, like talking to Tony Moore, I have open arms. But I know, yeah, I don't other shows, just quickly, other shows I had specific thoughts for. Except for Andor, because Andor we didn't know for sure either. But like Obi-Wan, so we had ideas. From beginning to end, we had ideas we want to see, and we didn't get them. So I don't. This one, though, I was like, I don't know where to go with this. This is such a female-driven show, led show. I don't know what they're doing with this. They mentioned Thrawn. They mentioned this. So far, they've delivered. They gave us Anakin. They gave us Thrawn. I don't. They gave us Ezra, so to speak. I mean, I don't know what. I don't know. I mean, if this is Rebels season 6, so to speak, then what would a season 6 look like? What would the ending look like for season 6 of Rebels? I guess that's what I guess would be a thought.
Last question to you before I move over to Mr. John Dunphy is, we've always talked about in the Star Wars series the pacing. Is it going too slow? Is it going too fast? Is the wrap up too condensed because there's still so much left to cover? Is it satisfying? How are you feeling 6 episodes in? Do you feel like these 2 episodes have a lot to do? Do you feel like, no, we're going at a good pace? How are you feeling?
Good, very good question. There's some series you've done where I couldn't wait for it to end. There were some series where it was just very squandered, the different time things we always mention here. So far, to me, I'll give it maybe a 6 or 7. It's okay. I feel like there is more to be said and had. I wish there was more episodes. I wish it was the 10 that we normally get, 10 or 12 we normally get. I think this show could go for it with all the rich characters and the backgrounds they're mining from. It could easily go 10 episodes for sure, possibly 12. So, but the pacing, I mean, they're getting things pretty. They're like, here we go. They're not wasting that much time. So I like that part. And then we don't have these episodes where it's 25 minutes long. You're like, what happened? Which some of other series may not be named have done. So I think that's a good question. I think right now I'm at a level 6 out of 10, saying it's okay, but I think there's more to mine. I'm sad that it's ending in 2 episodes.
All right, yeah. John Dunphy, other than seeing Zeb show up in either of these episodes, is there anything that you're hoping to see?
I am hoping that by the end of this season, we will have seen one or both of Shin and Balin change sides. I think we've been getting a lot of hints that there could be conflict within each one of them, and I would love to see either Shin or Balin be like, you know what,
I'm out.
I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I shouldn't have been doing this. I'm on your side now. I would love to see that sort of conflict play out. And could you imagine like Shin and Balin fighting against each other after all this? You know what I mean? Like, that would be insane.
Well, John, here's a question for you, just on top of Frank's question. Which one do you want to see turn which way? Which one's more impactful?
Oh man, I don't know. Yeah,
we got rubbing his beard, Frank. I'm rubbing his beard. Frank and I are interviewers. We interview for a living. Oh, you too. That's right. But I'm saying, you bring up a good point, John. But the point is like, which one's more impactful? If Balin turns or if Shin turns? Because then that makes the whole point. If she goes good, so to speak, and he stays, or if he goes good and then you're right, Master and.
Yeah,
but which one is it?
Oh man, I don't know. I honestly, I can't answer that question. I honestly don't know, because I like both characters.
Right. Think about that one for a while.
I'm gonna think. Maybe I'll come back next time we talk. Maybe I'll have an answer. Maybe, but that's something I would like to see for the end of this season. Also, yeah. Also, I want to see more. I want to see more Jason. I want to see more Jason.
Oh, really?
Okay. And I want to see more of Hera's booty. She's got a great booty. Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Well, she's in trouble. We haven't seen what, because she has to go back to the people and Coruscant again. She's in trouble because she did this unauthorized mission. So her ass are in trouble. They're in trouble.
And it's like if a giant hyperspace ring can't get you out of being and having your title stripped from you, then what good is it for? Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
John Dunphy, how are you feeling about the overall pacing of this series? Are you feeling good, concerned, or are you just like hating it?
I feel pretty good about it. I will say I was disappointed because I think I was the one on the podcast that was like, I want to see Thrawn by episode 4. And we didn't get Thrawn by episode 4. We didn't get him until episode 6. But I gotta say, like, I'm not super disappointed with it, because I like how the show has played out. And now that Thrawn has been introduced, like, I feel like in The Mandalorian, right, with Moff Gideon, we always got teased about Moff Gideon, and then he didn't show up until 3 seconds of episode 7, and then was finally featured in episode 8 or whatever, or however many episodes the season was. But with this, at least, we got a lot of Thrawn in this episode. We really did get a lot of Thrawn in this episode, and I feel like we're just going to get more and more in episode 7 and 8. So while Thrawn didn't show up as early as I would have liked, I still feel like I'm happy with how this season has played out. Episode 5 for me, and maybe this is why I wasn't so bothered by Ahsoka not really being present in episode 6 so much. Like, it was all Ahsoka in episode 5. You know what I mean? So like, the pacing has worked for me, and hasn't always been what I thought I would have wanted when the season started. It hasn't been what I've expected, but it's been, I've thought the pacing was pretty good still.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with Star Wars series of late, whether it's Mandalorian season 3 or this series, where you're just holding off, delaying showing your big bad guy. All we're doing is just like talking about whispers and conjecture. And we drag that out, and then we just really, I feel like we give those villains such short service. Like Moff Gideon was, I feel like, wasted in that season 3 of Mandalorian. Ugh.
Yeah.
It was just like.
But Frank, my question to you: we watch enough television. Isn't that what they usually do anyway? A lot of times, when it comes to the villain, they want to try to. Their thing is we're trying to build up to it, I guess. Some shows execute it better than others, I think, but isn't that the trope they allow them to do anyway?
Yeah, but it's like I look to the Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame, where like Thanos, the big bad, certainly we had him seated throughout the little, end credits of Marvel films leading up to it. But once we actually really got to see Thanos, like this is the story of Thanos, like he was very present throughout both of those films. So much so where you would hear fans say like, well, I could kind of identify where Thanos is going for. Not that I would want to do that, but I can see his point of view. And sometimes that's all I want. It's like I'm not gonna giving a villain more screen time is only gonna help be able to kind of show the point of view, and just kind of make more vested interest in whether that villain gets defeated or they succeed. I mean, you want the heroes to win at the end of the day, but I feel like if it's just a character that has such little, if they're going against a villain that has so little development, it's just like, great, okay, I would be so much more invested in this victory if I was like more invested in the villain, knowing all the stakes that were involved and how dangerous this character was and how they felt about everything, and seeing how much more that defeat meant to that character.
Yeah, I agree. A good villain is very important. And I do think that, especially in season 3 of Mandalorian, we were sold very short. Like Moff Gideon, was a great villain, and we should have gotten more of him in season 3 of Mandalorian. I totally agree. Yeah.
Well, I will say my thing that I hope to see is Kanan come back to Jason as a Force ghost. Just have a father and son moment. My baby green-haired boy.
But that'd be a nice reference. It'd be fine. I'd be fine with it.
Maybe Anakin's there as a Force ghost with him.
Maybe.
And Yoda. And
I would die if that happened. That would be funny. Yes.
There you go. And Qui-Gon Jinn. Let's just get Liam Neeson in
Oh my God. There you go. Yeah. then my eyes reopen. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been almost nearly 2 hours of hot Star Wars content. We're going to call it wraps here, but we will be back. It is up in the air yet whether we will be doing episodes 7 and 8 as individual episodes, or we will combine them and do a 2-episode recap in 2 weeks. So James Lott Jr., the master of JLJ Media and its social media presence, will keep you all apprised about the plans for Ahsoka, whether it's 7 and 8 as individual episodes or a 7 and 8 combo platter. So make sure you're following JLJ Media so you can keep fully abreast of not just this show, but all the fine programming on JLJ Media.
That's what I want to mention something. So in 2 weeks, on October 1st, it'll be me and Frank's 8-year anniversary as colleagues. He's my work husband. I'm actually sending you something to your house, Frank, and I hope it gets there in time. So Frank, look out. Frank doesn't know this, so let's keep this in mind to celebrate our 8 years of friendship and colleagueship. And it's not even a word, but I'm making it a word. So if I know you probably don't watch soap operas, but it's a General Hospital mini spotlight, and so I'm doing something on October 1st is our show at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I just want to mention that, Frank, because I love you.
I love you as well. Is it inflatable? What's your sense?
It's an inflatable program. That's what it is. And you go inside.
Yeah, and it does have a blowhole.
I am excited.
Oh my God. It's really big, Frank. It's really big. That's all I gotta say.
Oh, excellent. Thanks, James Lott, always sensitive about the girth. Being with James this past 8 years has been phenomenal. So, and I look forward to many, many more years of us talking about all kinds of nonsense, whether it's Star Wars, Hospital, or whatever.
Basically, it's all nonsense, kids. It's all nonsense. We're not saving the world or anything. Shit, it's all nonsense.
Oh, you are saving the world. one episode at a time.
At time, that's right.
Thank you to everyone for hanging out, watching this episode, for being in the chat. For those of you that may have done super chats, gosh, thank you so much for that as well too. That keeps the lights on at JLJ Media Enterprises. There you go.
Keeps it on. Turn it back on.
There you go. The lights. All right. But folks, if you want to stay in touch with us even after the show's over, you're like, holy cow, I want to know more about what all these three, or at least two of them, and Frank, if I have to, are thinking about all those stuff. John Dunphy, where can they find you?
Find me, me personally, at JDunn89 on all of your social media platforms. I play music. I take pictures of the moon. Come hang out with me. If you want to follow a podcast that talks about reality TV shows, follow at StratChat Pod on all social media platforms. We talk about Big Brother, The Challenge, Survivor, everything that you could think of in the reality TV world. So that's me.
And you are breaking down buddy games. Is that correct?
We plan to move into buddy games with Josh Duhamel.
Okay.
It's been an enjoyable time, buddy games.
Somebody should have told him to maybe do a little hairstyling when he showed up in Big Brother.
I know.
That was a rough look through.
And you can find John on the Long Island Expressway. Just go follow him somewhere on there. You can find him. Yeah.
I'm usually hanging out on the LIE around exit 45 or so. So just usually sitting on the side of the road. You can find me. We can talk about whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
For me, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at HappyGoJackie. It's not worth your time, but if you feel you must, I would be welcome to have you. James Lott Jr., where can they find you?
We're all James Lott Jr.'s are sold at James Lott Jr. on all social media platforms. I am even on Blue Sky Social and Spoutable. Also, I'm on those two. I'm under James Lott Jr. there too, apparently. They're both kind of boring right now, but I'm posting a few things on there just because they said I should be on there. I got a code from Flobo. Flobo gave me a code, and I typed it in and said, why not? But JLJ Media is there. We're also, you can follow all the Star Wars after shows. We do all of them. It's us. We do them. You can follow them on any of your audio streaming service platforms. That's from iHeartRadio to Apple to Google, Spotify. Just type in, basically they're all the same. Just type in the title and Aftershow after it. Boba Fett Aftershow, Ahsoka Aftershow, and you can find them all there. And thanks for making them a big hit for us.
Yes, you make it worth getting up in the morning every day, folks, to talk about Star Wars. Thank you.
Yeah.
Folks, that's going to do it for this episode of the Ahsoka After Show right here on JLJ Media. We'll be back soon with another episode right here on JLJ Media. Until then, may the Force be with you.